We're going to go live right now. 20 minutes and counting, and we are going to be live for Milky Way Wednesday, September. I was going to say Wednesday, September 14th. And I said Milky Way Wednesday, that's why I got my head. Cool. So we are going to go live. Boom, boom, boom. 20 minutes to go. Oh, I got notified over here. Hey, hey, hey. Sweet. Let's try that out. Okay, sweet. So I have taken a step for those of you hanging out with me right now before we go live is in getting an Android phone so that I can show Android users the apps that are the compromise. I haven't created the video yet for it, but I got to find out, okay, as an iPhone user with all these favorite apps, what would I say for those poor Android users that don't have them, like Dark Sky or Sky Guide Pro? I mean, I really love those apps. And so I got an Android phone, and it just notified me that we're live. And I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Minimize the volume, I suppose. Just hit on the side here. Cool. So one of the live viewers is technically me watching myself. And where's the downvote? Hey, there's Blake. Welcome in, Blake. Awesome. Hey, man, so I'm going to turn on a video for those of you who are hanging out. I'm going to be back in 14 minutes when this video is done. I'll talk to everyone, double-check audio, double-check everything. I think it sounds pretty great right now. You'll probably tell me, Blake, any second now that it sounds fine. It was tested already. I believe it's golden. And we'll get into this. Tonight's Milky Way Wednesday, a very, Aaron, do it, manage it, fast-paced go-through of all these locations. So, hey, Dave. All right, welcome in. Amaki is here. Howdy, Aaron and chat. How's everyone doing? We're going to be going live in 18 minutes, so enjoy this video if you haven't watched it already. Otherwise, grab a drink, grab a bite to eat, use the restroom, and be back for Milky Way Wednesday. All right, let's do this. Welcome in. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and we're going to talk about those challenges that you face with the September Milky Way, but some of the benefits, especially if you enjoy sleep. September's a good month to go out. I love Milky Way photography, and when I look through some of my most favorite images, you see already that there's a problem with my own biases. I mean, check this out. My absolute favorite Milky Way capture, I did this in March. This one was in June as well, May, and this last one was in Oregon in June. Welcome in. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and we're going to talk about those challenges that you face with the September Milky Way, but some of the benefits, especially if you enjoy sleep. September's a good month to go out. I love Milky Way photography, and when I look through some of my most favorite images, you see already that there's a problem with my own biases. I mean, check this out. My absolute favorite Milky Way capture, I did this in March. This one was in June. Welcome in. I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and we're going to talk about those challenges that you face with the September Milky Way, but some of the benefits, especially if you enjoy sleep. September's a good month to go out. I love Milky Way photography, and when I look through some of my most favorite images, you see already that there's a problem with my own biases. I mean, check this out. My absolute favorite Milky Way capture, I did this in March. This one was in June as well, May, and this last one was in Oregon in June. So you kind of see a lot of problems here with some of my favorite images. They all don't have a vertical. Only recent, in the last couple years, have I created images that are vertical Milky Ways that have become some of my favorites. And it starts off with the really cool Hoodoo Village image right here, where I've got some low-level lighting and a vertical Milky Way, as well as this one with no low-level lighting and just a long exposure on the rock, an exposure for the sky, and you can see how a vertical Milky Way can be terrific. This image was taken in September 2020, so this is an exact image of what you can expect of a Milky Way at this time of year. So let's check out first the timings of the Milky Way. Let's get familiar with where and how we should handle this over on Photo Pills. The Moon Pill immediately here in Provo, Utah. I see it's Thursday, September 1st, right? If you've never heard this before, check out, come up here. This section, this is a link for an old video I created talking about this in more detail. You can check out how to plan your Milky Way with Photo Pills right here. But quickly, just looking at tonight, I know that the Milky Way core is going to be visible after the sunset, and it's going to be at 9:34. Okay. Visible already at 9:34. What's going on with the moon? The moon has risen at 12:26 p.m. and it's going to set at 10:50. Oh man, 10:46. An hour and 10 minutes of waiting for the moon to be gone. 9:34 until when? Let's click over here to the next day, Friday, September 2nd. My galactic center visibility, that exact dot in the center, I'll show you that later, is going to set at 12:39 a.m. All right, what's left at that point? Do I finish at 12:39? My moon was setting at 10:46, so if the Milky Way is visible till 12:39, that's just 2 hours. Is it worth going where I want to go for 2 hours? Okay, all right, let's think about this. So I know that I have 2 hours after the moon has gotten out of my way to still capture the Milky Way before it has technically set. Well, let's look more into what technically set means over here on Stellarium. So we're going to use Sagittaria A East to show off this exact
Okay, sorry about
position
that,
of
everybody. It looks like the audio was coming through from this. I thought I turned off the desktop audio, but I guess I didn't. Oh, what's this? Wow. A political call. That's incredible. You can't see me right now because I can't let you not see this video. But those of you who are here with me in the beginning of the pre-show, we're just about to go live. But I was mentioning that I got an Android phone so that I could teach Android apps better and understand the Android side of this horrible world. And so I just got a political call on this phone, and this phone number has just been active for 3 hours. Yeah, that's trash. I'm getting spam without having used this number anywhere. Only thing I've done is use my Aaron King Gmail account to log into this, and I got a political call. Fantastic. So I'm talking over myself up there, and this video has the audio doubled up because of that window. So I'll shut up, let you guys watch me before you watch me some more. Here we go.
Technically, Milky Way core has been set. So there's a lot to love about this Milky Way going forward. So that is a challenge dealing with the Milky Way that's setting. That's a September challenge, one that we had in August and July, but it happened much later. And every month after September, it just gets earlier and earlier in the night. So that is one of the benefits. Imagine that you have work the next day and you don't have a free open schedule like I do sometimes, where you can just go out, be out all night, and then sleep in until 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm trying to kind of humble bragging there that I can sleep in sometimes in the morning. I'm sorry. But if you don't have a schedule like me, then you're doing what I used to do in 2016, where you're blitzing out, doing Milky Way photography, and putting your tie on for work while you drive in after an all-night being out, and you're pretty useless at work that day. So yeah, this time of year is terrific. You don't have as much laborious all-nighters required in order to do Milky Way photography. I mean, check it out. I love Antares and the Roa-Fuki complex. This whole section of stars, I mean, look at how gorgeous this is. If you use a star tracker, oh boy, does it sing. So that looks awesome, including with your Milky Way core, and it's kind of the anchor for me. I anchor my edge of my frame on a panorama after the Antares Roa-Fuki complex. If it's for vertical Milky Way, I do the same thing. The moon set at 10:46. So I'm looking at the moon's finally set. I've got my Antares. I have my window, no moon, and the Roa-Fuki. And let's just go for a few minutes of capture all the way until, all right, about 11 o'clock at night. My favorite version of the Milky Way core is gone. If you favor the same thing I favor, then you're going to probably think the same way and be done by midnight at the latest. Really early time in the night to be done, especially for Milky Way photographers. If you've done this ever before, you know that that's awesome. I can get driving home. I can even drive really far knowing that I can go to sleep and then drive a couple hours, that I was finished by midnight. It's pretty terrific in September for early nights. We need to consider our next challenge, composition. When you're talking about composition, it's really easy for me to talk about some of the typical benefits of composition layout, where you think, okay, I'm going to frame the Milky Way in between something like a man-made object like this, or put the Milky Way in between some rocks like this one.
And this turned out terrific. So composition is going to be your second great challenge in this season of Milky Way. You're going to have to deal with balancing out a vertical with something. I like to talk about my 5 compositional tips. As you notice, this is kind of focused on an early season Milky Way, a tipped Milky Way, a panorama Milky Way, a Milky Way that's tipped at a 45-degree angle, another panorama, and another tipped 45. I admit to being entirely biased towards the Milky Way pre-July. From the beginning of the season to July, those are my favorite months of Milky Way photography. So considering that composition is going to be tight, I'm going to show you some example images where it has gone well and okay. There's first image here. It is terrible. This is Bandon, and we're near the Howling Dog, poorly well lit by the city and making all of that low-level lighting challenge just completely gone. You can't even begin to try and light these better, and you can't do anything to deal with.
Let's go ahead and just talk to you because that is annoying. The crackling. I don't know what the crackling is. It's just a video file. And it's always had a video file like that in the past whenever I show a video like that. So it's the same thing. So I wonder what the deal was. I don't know why it would be crackling and having that weird audio glitch. The first part was just doubled up because it was picking up the audio from there. But I don't know what that extra like crackling was. Interesting. Let's see if that crackling shows up with no, I don't want to show that stuff all over again. Let's show something fun. Let's show this one and see if there's crackling audio. I'm not going to show you the whole video. I just want to see if there's crackling audio again. Well, I just slipped into my NASA shirt and the red undershirt for one last time. I have worn it, washed it several times, worn it every night for 23 nights, under a jacket at least, if not on the top. And now it's my last time. With a lot of relief, I actually am glad it's the 23rd night. I'm here at Natural Bridges National Monument. I'm going to let you see a time lapse as I drive through here and go to Owachomo Bridge, but wanted to say before I came in that it's exciting to be done. I'm very tired. I haven't had a regular work schedule or regular life schedule for 3 weeks and 2 days. It's been interesting, very interesting. You know, seriously, if you think you love something, you're gonna have to go out and do it for 23 days and nights in a row. Let me say it this way. If you think you love something, do it 23 nights in a row and you'll find out how much you love it. Made it. So here I am at the trailhead. It says right here that it is trail to bridge, 0.2 miles. So 0.20. So 0.32 kilometers. Very, very easy hike. I'm going to show you the pathway up here. But if you have hiked around uneven ground or rocks, then you will be familiar with this kind of hike. But there's actually stair stepping happening. They have carved some of the rocks like that into a stair. Let me lock the truck. And so they've made it really easy for you. It's a very comfortable hike. I've even hiked down there, forgotten some gear, and hiked back up to grab it. That's how much the hike is easy. But it's really beautiful. You gotta see it. As you can see, uneven, crazy path. But this is the kind of parts where the trail is hairy. But then up here, let's show you how easy it is if you run it. But up here, you end up with steps. Little steps. Boop, boop, boop. Literal steps. Literal steps. I'm not kidding. I mean, look how they've been cut out from the rock. Perfectly squared, too. So really nice handrail, if you want to call it that. And then just more steps. More steps behind. So it's really easy path, guys. Definitely worth the walk. I'm right now at eye level with Owachomo Bridge right here, and you can see it cutting across right there. I guess move my hand the opposite direction. But yeah, this right here is not the angle you want to capture the Milky Way, of course. You have to get down in there. Let me show you. Owachomo Bridge. Here it is. And as you can see in this spot right here, we get a nice window to look into the Milky Way in the southeast. That core looks fantastic right here. But hey, Teresa Rice made it too, and Kathy's here. So who have I not said hi to yet? Argus Ray's here, Maki's here, Blake is here, Ryan Luna's here, Tim Bradley's here, and Tim, if you haven't seen my response in the chat, yeah, I didn't see you in my Gmail account for Photog Adventures, but if you send it to Milky Way Wednesday, I'll double check here after the live stream and make sure I have that. If you feel like maybe it just didn't go through, feel free to copy and paste it in a new email and send it to Aaron at photogadventures.com. All right, so we're going to be going live here shortly, 3 minutes and 45 seconds before we go live. Everyone's still feeling good about the back, right? I mean, there's no reason to complain. Is there anything I didn't notice that's a tangent? You may notice that I left some things different over there. I have been recently contracted out to help Nisi, actually not Nisi. Hey, it's John Foti. I just want to talk about your dad all the time, John, Mr. Jim Foti. Hey, it's Chris Woodruff. So Nisi has contracted me out to do some live streams for him. So I have a new client, and it's Nisi, and they've hooked me up with some filters, and the Swift system filters are pretty dang cool. So I don't know why my YouTube is saying there's an error with not receiving enough video. I mean, everything is normal on my end. So if you're receiving any buffering issues or stream issues, it's probably just on YouTube side. Oh, that's where it was sent, meaning Milky Way Wednesday, because if it is, cool. But I said both emails, so it's hard to tell which one you meant. All right, cool. So we are about to get started. We're going to go live after this video, Milky Way Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know about those notifications. Milky Way Wednesday is going to go live. I want to talk a lot about our locations throughout the workshop. I have, what is this? 26 minus 9. So it's like 17, 18 different locations I'll be talking about tonight. And it's going to be a fun blast on figuring out. Thomas Tarner's here. Looks fine here. What's up, Aaron? What's up, Tom? Welcome in. Oh, I need to hit the button. Let's get going on the last video before we go live here in 2 minutes. See you on the other side of it. We can't picture it like this. Here's the Milky Way, and at set, it's gone. Nothing else to look at. I like to use odd things on my desk for a visual representation. So before we go into Stellarium and show you an actual representation of the Milky Way, first let's imagine that this pen is the Milky Way. And the entire orange-red part of this pen is the core. And it's starting to set as it continues to tilt. And pretty soon, boom, it sets. No, this Milky Way is visible quite well. It's just the core has gone down, and now the gray, the almost also awesome part of the Milky Way is visible. And there's no reason to give up immediately. However, when a big part of that core starts setting for me, I'm kind of done. So looking in Stellarium, the Stellarium app is totally free. Download it at stellarium.org. Right here at this 0 mark, let me get rid of the whole landscape. Everything above this line is in my hemisphere. And as it's on this side of the hemisphere, then it's declared above and visible, even though it's not taking into account any man-made objects and mountains that might be in the way. So we're going to use Sagittarius A East to show off this exact position of the Sagittarius A asterisk, a radio signal that is the center of our galaxy. So when people say the Milky Way core has set, they're talking about this part of it. It's saying that here, this has fully set by 12:39. Boom, there it is, underneath the horizon. So that exact dot in the Milky Way is under the core,
Remember the red pen? The red pen, all of this went underneath. But I kind of gave you a misrepresentation of it. You should look more like this. Now we have a red core that has a dot in the center. Pen goes underneath the horizon. It's still pretty visible, and then the black dot is under. Oh, Milky Way has set. That is the mistake of calling it Milky Way has set. We should try in the future to think about that little tiny dot in the center of the Milky Way core as Sagittarius A, and once Sagittarius A asterisk has set, that radio signal that is the black hole, now that has set, but you still have the Milky Way. So that core, it's gonna dip on you, but it's still pretty terrific. Look at all that you can capture in the night sky. This is definitely lesser than this, and both are when they're technically Milky Way core has been set. So there's a lot to love about this Milky Way. Thanks for hanging out with me on this video. Check. And here we go. Welcome in. It's Milky Way Wednesday. Welcome back for another Wednesday night of learning, talking, nerding out about the Milky Way core, which I love so much. And the rest is just gorgeous and kind of rejected. Kind of like all the rocks between here and Moab, as we just reject those rocks and go on. Cool. Phil got my email. Awesome. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. This side. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, as always, hit me up with an all caps question because I'm going to be blitzing, and I'm serious. I've got all my pictures ready in advance. So when I say blitzing, I'm actually going to be blitzing. I know. Oh, it's a miracle. It's really a miracle that I got all my pictures in advance. I even had to find some that ended up being the pre-cropped pano, not totally final image, just to show you an image of the location. So here we go. I'm actually feeling good that we got this Milky Way Wednesday rolling. So hit me up in the chat with an all caps question if you want to interject with any comment or have a question that you'd like me to answer. If you're new here to Milky Way Wednesday, I do this every Wednesday except when I have a workshop. And so when I'm going to workshop, I can't do it. But when I'm back here live in the studio, we teach a lesson every Wednesday. It is a free format, a classroom format. I don't have it as, concise and brief as it could be because we're just hanging out together. So you're going to be here for an hour or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or all of it. Hey, welcome in. Let's get rolling with our new one. And our new one meaning what, Aaron? Our new lesson? Oh, yes, actually, there is one thing I want to bring up just before we go live. So for those of you who have followed me enough on my emails as well as here or came to the channel and saw my little quick YouTube sale that I did, I put it out there for $1,000 per workshop. I allowed people to jump in and sign up for 2023 workshops. I actually kind of planned for 20 of those sales to go through, and I haven't used them all up. So the site that I linked everybody, if you go to photogadventures.com and you see the story of Milky Way quick announcement and you click on this link, when you go here to see the sale, it says that it's expired and that all these buttons, you can't go anywhere. You click on them and it takes you nowhere. But for those of you who are jumping in here, and I just appreciate you so much for coming to Milky Way Wednesday, and because I budgeted in a few more sales on that, I'm going to give you guys another option to jump in here. So I'm going to paste this over here in the chat, and so you can see me pasting it right now. That's the form that will take you directly to order. And if you click on it, it'll open up this page and you can see that Escalante, both Escalantes are sold out. In fact, let me zoom in on this, get it a little clear. So these are the workshops that are available still. Escalante sold out. There's only 2 left right here for the Southern Utah workshop. That's going to be right before Nightscaper. But I also have open available work spots in my brand new workshops like this one, Death Valley, February 20th through 24th, as well as the 7 Nights Southern Utah workshop. It's going to be in March, and you're going to see a location here today. Actually, a couple of them, won't you? But one of them that you haven't seen recently, you're going to see here. So if you're thinking, oh, that's a cool spot, I want to go to Royce Bear Milky Way Butte. here's a chance. If you want to, use that link. I'll remind you at the end of the video about it because I want to get some more opportunity for those of you who are here in a Milky Way Wednesday. For instance, a Maki. This is not a guilt trip, Dave. I'm not trying to say, hey, man, come on. I'm just saying that you're in a good example of someone who's come back every week and has hung out with me since 2017. I've been doing this. And 2018, I think I started the Milky Way Wednesdays for sure. So 2018, Dave has been here on a weekly basis practically. One time there's a Halloween night that we were out here doing it, and he showed up. And so, Dave, people like you, I'd love to meet in person. So I want to give you guys this discount deal still. If you're interested in it, awesome, sweet. Otherwise, boom, boom, boom. Let's get rolling. Okay, we ended up last time on Goosenecks. Goosenecks State Park, just south. Retired. Hello from Norway. It's 3 a.m. Hey, Reno. Or Reno. How do we pronounce your name? I'm always go crazy. Laurencio can vouch for that. I go crazy trying to pronounce everyone's name perfectly accurate. So, Reno House, welcome in from Norway. I used to live in the Netherlands. I know that that is not the same. But I know that place, when I first heard of it, I thought, oh, Norway. So Netherlands is Norway to me, at least for the first 30 seconds that I heard that I was going to be sent there as a missionary. So Dave Amaki says, I'll see you on October 17th this year. Wait, Dave is the Dave that's in that North Carolina workshop? Hooray. Okay, sweet. So Dave Amaki will be meeting me in person finally. Oh, that's awesome. I completely blanked that. There are 2 Daves in that workshop, and I just completely blanked that you're the other Dave. I'm stoked. Sweet. Man, I probably talked about that. I've probably talked to that Dave and didn't connect that you were a Maki on the live stream. Anyway, Goosenecks State Park. We ended here. It's in southern Utah. And the next location is Owachomo Bridge. Owachomo Bridge is a Natural Bridges National Monument. And this location is quite fantastic. One huge benefit of it, and you started seeing it in the pre-record in the beginning of the live stream, like I'll show you here again. No, I can't do that because it'll just be slow. Never mind. But this location, Owachomo Bridge, is a very short hike. Let me just give you a quick look at this terrain. Oh, is it all flat right now? Did I turn your geography off, Google Earth? Why are you not showing me any cool bump maps and geometry of the location? Oh, this is just Owachomo Bridge, but I just want to see the landscape. It's all flat. Where did I change that setting? I don't remember changing that setting, but let's go ahead and find out. Properties. Oh, that's still just showing me this one placement property. View on the web. No. Tools, options. Okay, it must be in here. Elevation. Where am I not seeing you? Actually, I thought it was 3D view. Yeah. Man, for some reason, let's just restore defaults. Apply. It's just still this dead, huh? Interesting. Maybe they just don't know. I mean, look how flat everything is. Anyway, weird that Google Earth is doing this right now. But the cool thing is that you can see that Owachomo Bridge, you park right here, and you go down a very short 0.3 mile hike down to this spot, where then you will appreciate the Owachomo Natural Bridge right underneath it. It was this location that I learned how to really appreciate our wide angle camera focal lengths. When I was here with Kathy, which now I'm already doing a classic errand on a Milky Way Wednesday, but man, I really want to find this time lapse again. And I found it just the other day. And so, can I please find it again? Come on, you know you can. It's something that is always a nuisance during Milky Way Wednesday, but I still love doing it because whenever I can find a really brilliant representation of something that I didn't think of beforehand, I will pull it up and I will just go for it. But, all right, marketing projects. Is the time lapse in here? Or is it now under Dropbox folder, all time lapses? It's possible. There's a spot where we're talking about the transition from a very distant Milky Way position to a very close. And when you get from the distance, that shot is just okay. It's not brilliant, it's just okay. And so I like to show off how much different and better it got. Let me go into 2017. Oh, that's banned in. Oh, all time lapses? No, those are in 2022. 2016 time lapses. Oh, we might have a winner. I think we have a winner. Victory. This is a time lapse I created on the night that I met Kathy Henahan. And this time lapse is showing off how this bridge from this distance doesn't get fully appreciated. And so the big difference for me was going and saying, oh, okay, you know what? There's this picture that looks decent. I mean, there is a Milky Way. There is a cool foreground subject. There's a bunch of photographers down here, which is kind of neat. And then look, now that we got both lights turned on, you're really seeing the bridge and the Milky Way. What's missing? Well, that's an okay composition, but this one, not that one. This one was a brilliant one. This one was so much stronger. Kathy, myself, and Jeff. Oh, yeah, that was the right stretch. Okay, cool. We all. Jeff says he still sells copies of this picture and his Escalante one. I think he mentioned this one too and the Escalante one. But just this turned out so much stronger. So what I learned from this location is that you must take advantage of something even if it means ending up right on top of it. In fact, because now I have another window open and I don't have a perfect record anymore, Aaron King is going to go for the gold. He wants to show you the pre-live video that led to this moment, or that gives you a good example of this location. Very clear. Oh, I can't read things well. All right, here we go. So check it out as you're on this location. Here's Aaron King walking you through in a YouTube video, pointing out there's the bridge. And then you get underneath it, and you literally stand underneath it. And that position is the strong one. That's the one that is going to really carry the composition. And you see the Milky Way through the window of it and going off the top of it. And you're standing right there underneath it in order to capture it. So let's see, do I show yourself? This is a different perspective of it, but I don't show where we're standing, do I? Nah. Just the idea of that was in June and it needed to capture from a different spot at that time of morning because the moon was going to be up long. But that bridge is fantastic just directly underneath it. And so when you capture with a wide angle, this was 15 millimeter right here, it turns out terrific. So I learned at Owachomo Bridge, that's what you need to do. The next location, and welcome back from the vacay, Chris Whiting. Hey, man. Next location is Dead Horse Point, and I'm hoping I get some bump map here and some geography because this is a cliff, and I really wanted to feature the cliff. Oh, that's so weird. I wonder what I did. I reset. Oh, wait, terrain. I unchecked that box, and maybe, Dead Horse Point. Go back to it. I think that's going to be it. I really do. I just don't think we're going to be allowed to see anything for a while for some reason. Aha! It's loading it. Look at that. Now we've got the realistic kind of... Because obviously this pavilion and this balcony is not off the edge of it. It's not perfect. But you can see the cliff wall that is Dead Horse Point and this area. This was a spot that taught me patience and frustration of a chasm. I've had some chasms work out really well, but Dead Horse Point has always been a challenge to get it to be strong. It's always more fun at sunrise, but there is a beautiful dark sky, and I've had some terrific spots, and it's one of the easy locations where you park, and you can walk all the way on this pathway to go to this point right here where you're standing on the flat platform, or you can come past the bathroom, zip off right here. Let me just show it to you better. Right here, and walk straight out to the cliff edge where you will be next to this. This is the cover of my 2021 almanac, and I use this shot of this really cool bonsai looking tree, this little cool juniper that's off the cliff edge of Dead Horse Point, and all I did was just bokeh the Milky Way. I focused on the tree and I kept everything else. This was one of my stacks to bring together, a focus stack on this plus the Milky Way sky. And I ended up just loving this by itself. So as you work with Dead Horse Point, you deal with this chasm and all this distance, and then the Milky Way is up here. You get a really tall image that's focused on a Milky Way at a vertical point, and the panorama doesn't quite work. And I wanted to do a panorama from here, but then I found that north end of the pano, when I go towards just the parking lot, it's not worth the panorama. The best is just a feature at that angle. And so that is Dead Horse Point. The next location, like I said, I got a blitz around today. It's only 7:15. I haven't totally screwed my pace up entirely. Bandon, Oregon. I have a few images to represent Bandon, Oregon. Right here is Face Rock Viewpoint. You wander down and go straight over here to the Wizard and the Guardians of the Wizard. And here's a group, and Kathy, you're going to be featured a lot in this. Here's Kathy right now with her camera and a really bright headlamp on, trying to fix something as everyone's getting set up. Or, no, I'm betting that's her LCD screen, because there's no lights anywhere else. It's just the LCD screen reflecting back at me. But we got a big Jupiter reflecting in the water. We got the other stars. We got the Antares orange showing up nice and bright. That's one thing that I learned in Oregon, as I spent more time by water there than I did at some of the lakes here in Utah. And just that reflection that you get in the sand, it showed me that the star colors come true in the reflection. It's interesting because you have a very bright colored star, and it seems like you lose the color in that brightness, but where you get it mitigated by some means, like a reflection only, you really pull out the star colors, and it's a really cool feature right here. Let me show you. So this whole section right there is where we're working, trying to feature off this Guardian. Right here's the Wizard, and here's the Milky Way coming off. And here's JHM, John Henry Maurice, in the group over on his side trying to get a nice shot. And this is a very wide picture captured from a lens that Mansour hooked me up with, a 15mm prime from Canon that was a classic. And so you can see where we set up our light. A big thing about this location was playing with light from the distance. In Utah, often my rock is very close. But when I came out to this location, I started using the opportunity of going very far back, get my light going, and kind of kiss the edges of the rocks that I want to really bring about the neat image. I had a time lapse for this. Did I really lose it? Oh, I didn't create it. That's right. It wasn't a full, complete time lapse. I would have had to create it, and I didn't have time. So these are the three Bandon shots. And this is Bandon's Milky Way, famously off of Gardens of the Wizard, but you spend sunset over here by the Howling Dog. And so you eat at Lord Bennett's, walk down for the sunset, go back to your car, get some sleep, come back at 12:30, wait for that Milky Way to get off the coastline, and capture the Milky Way until the morning. And it's a fun morning. All right, from Bandon, we typically go down to Brookings, or we've already started in Brookings where Secret Beach is, and go up to Bandon. And on a workshop, this location is gorgeous. And I'm going to feature it here in the silhouette picture and just what the location looks like around sunset. This is just a quick shot. It is nothing amazing, but it's just a spot that I like to take everybody in the workshop for a sunset. So if you come with me to a workshop in Oregon, you actually get the best of both worlds with landscape and Milky Way, because we have to get down to our coast location by sunset, and we're hanging out and waiting and waiting and waiting for the Milky Way to show up and pray that fog does not show up. And I wish I could have pulled up the Natural Bridge time lapse, but it was also not created, so I couldn't do it. But this is the area, and what I learned and what I just don't totally love is how you have to settle for this. It's cool. I love this location. And the silhouettes of all these sea stacks with trees on them are beautiful. But I found it's very tough to really love it fully when it's lacking some of that information you get with the terrain. You capture this rock over here at Bandon, you got some city lights as well as your own lights to try and make it all show up and the whole scene exist. When it's fully dark, like Secret Beach, you do have a little light bloom of Brookings to worry about that you wait for the Milky Way to come off of. But this is it. This is the shot, and it is one of those black and sky Milky Ways that, while can be terrific, it really starts encouraging you to do what we've been talking about with the Blue Hour Milky Way. And so this is one area where you really kind of play around with that. The next location we go up from Bandon typically is Thor's Well. We don't do Milky Way from Thor's Well typically, but I got to show you that in a workshop we did try and do it. This is the actual well, and I have stood here looking this way and captured a Milky Way once. I was not able to locate that image to show how it turned out. It was mostly a time lapse. I wasn't able to locate it. But I want to show you up here where Spouting Horn is. There's a little hole here that spouts off, and you could stand on this flap spot, or you can come up here and go from above. But we were down on the lower flat spot and on these rocks trying to capture a Milky Way back in 2018 from this spot. Myself, Kurt Kais, Brendan, and I'm forgetting your name right now. Claudia and I were there. So we had a great capture of what was a pathetic foreground. Check this out. So I learned that even though water looks cool being sprayed, you can get stuck trying to capture a frame or 7 of that just doesn't really show up. We shined lights over there. We tried to make it more visible, and it just never really showed up with any depth that was going to make this very neat. And it just frankly wasn't. But there is a Milky Way, and at least we got that. So then, after that unsatisfying Milky Way, we drove down to Heceta Head, and I found out that panoramas with lighthouses are the worst. Look at how when you capture that panel, I even tried. I was waiting, wait until it rotates around. Okay, now. And then captured my seconds here to try and match them up. But still, I couldn't get the checkered pattern of the 7 or 5 spikes of the Heceta Head Lighthouse to actually look consistent in the different frames as I went from right to left. The actual Milky Way was over here, tight on the hill, tight above this very overly lit bridge, and then the really neat sky was over there with no Milky Way in it, and Heceta Head wasn't really a cool lighthouse at that point. It was just a source of light in the middle of trees. Could have been an alien who had just landed or was checking out the area with his spaceship, because you just can't see anything. I got lens flare from the lighthouse that came into my frame because of it. And so Heceta Head was not a solution to get something cool out of that area. All right, Cape Kiwanda. Cape Kiwanda is near Pacific City. Pacific City is well far north up there on the Oregon coast, and it's this giant set of rock that's coming out. It's kind of a fun little, I feel like I'm in southern Utah off the coast of Oregon, and it's really nice. You do have to go up the brutal path that leads you up this big sand dune, go around the fence right here and follow the fence line all the way in, and by this point you're sweating beads. You're bullets and beads and just covered in wetness. But then you start getting happy because you got to the top part and all you have is a little saddle to go down. You can see right here the saddle to go down and up, and then you're out here on this cool rock. And let's look at some of the people's pictures from this area. Cool. They got Chief Kiwanda Haystack Rock out there. What else do we have of the terrain? That hurts my heart. That is gone. A bunch of D-bags have pushed it over, and so you can't see that anymore. And that's what most of these pictures are going to be, is of that. Man, it's so frustrating. What else do we have from this area? Do we have someone? This is cool. This is going to show off some of the texture of the terrain and how interesting it really is. And so you can get a really cool hyper foreground focus off of a neat subject like this, and it can be really fun. What we settled on, Mary Beth and I went back with a guy, I can't remember his name, and we came into the saddle and we captured a picture that looked like something like this. This is one of those examples where I couldn't find the final version. Obviously, I captured a lower foreground shot to capture more of the hyper foreground in front of me, and then I went up. And this image is so much worse than what Mary Beth pulled out that night, as she did a longer exposure of her foreground rocks, and it looks so much neater, so much cleaner, and it was able to kind of take out some of that weird Pacific City light pollution that was making this kind of green on the rock. It made it look even better. But this is a fun vertical pano of just 2 images to capture this terrain of the Chief Kiwanda backside, or Chief Kiwanda haystack out there, but then the backside of the really cool sand dune, kind of sandstone, kind of cool rock that is Cape Kiwanda. Chief Kiwanda rock, Cape Kiwanda, Kiwanda. And this area is awesome. It's something I get skunked at regularly, but it's always worth trying on the way up, and I absolutely love it. Cannon Beach. Cannon Beach is the final destination of my Oregon Coast workshops, and I love this one for sunrise. And so this is one of the more tiring elements of this workshop as you show up for the Milky Way out here by Haystack Rock, and then you also go to bed and drive back early in the morning to enjoy a sunrise. And that is what I'm going to show you right here, is a sunrise picture of this area. That is just the raw and my iPhone taking a picture of it. And it is the JPEG that came off the back of the camera, but man. And this is even back when I had the Canon 6D. So you can see how that reflected water in the sand there. It's just so flat right across this that any color in the sky blows up, and you get a horizon below that's colored and a horizon above that's in glow. That is just terrific. I loved it. And if you get a Milky Way, you're looking straight down this way, and it's vertical, and you have the big rock on the right. It feels a little imbalanced for my favorite kind of composition for these moments, but it is nice to have that there and just get a cool rock. The city lights it up a little bit. You don't light paint it yourself. You don't do any of that. And one thing about all of these Oregon coast areas that I learned to love a vertical Milky Way as I wait for it to start tipping, as I'm such a sucker for the panorama, but Oregon has got me to really appreciate a lot of that vertical stuff. Cool, awesome. Let's go ahead and take a quick break for a moment before we go on to the remaining pictures. We have a lot to go through, and for those of you who are hanging out with me right now, if you didn't see at the very beginning of this, I was giving those of you who come to these Milky Way Wednesdays one last chance to check out. I'll remind you this week and next week of a chance to grab that $1,000 deal. The link is in the chat. I'll copy and paste it again so it's there. Ba-bum. That link right there will get you into this page directly, and you can then sign up for any of those that are still available. They're only $1,000. Jump in. Basically, I had a plan of having 20 of these maybe sold, and I didn't sell that many, so I was like, okay, cool. I can open this up for more people and get some more people out for 2023 on a discount. So, fantastic. All right, let's get back into the next location, which is Crater Lake. Jumping around from the Oregon coast and driving all the hours over to Crater Lake, is it worth it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's worth it. It's very worth it. And this picture is not going to sell that necessarily, but this is a fun group. When we were out there, JHM, we've got Kave, and we've got Matthew Newman hanging out with Kirk and I at this night, and it was just a fantastic fun, and always is a brilliant sky. If you don't get skunked, which honestly, I've only had a couple times where I've been skunked in Crater Lake, and we go for 2 nights just to make sure one night might be good if both nights aren't, and it's just so crystal, and so the core. Imagine, this might work. This funky little example just might work. So imagine that here's the Milky Way that you see, and that detail of the core, right? Well, there's elements that stretch off of it that have a little bit more detail, and they aren't that visible. Where you're at certain spots that don't have the clarity, this just kind of fades away into the rest of the sky. Where you're at Crater Lake in that cold, dark sky, I have discovered that at Crater Lake, that core has even more detail that you can pull out without leaving our atmosphere. And it's just like everything around the core has this like extension on it, a little bit more detail that continues. And on all sides of it, it just seems bigger. When you get to the core there and you look at it, and you say you've been on the Oregon coast or you've been in Utah recently, and you look up and go, it just seems closer. It just seems closer for some reason. And it's because you see all the lower contrast areas of the core that you weren't picking up before. And it is amazing and awesome. And you have a chance to do a panorama, and then you go around to this side where we took this picture, and you can get a nice vertical Milky Way. You can't see it, but Wizard Island is right here behind JHM and Cave, and that is a nice composition where you can kind of piece that there with Wizard Island nice and featured, where in your panel you only capture most or part or a lot, but not all of Wizard Island in your shot before. So Crater Lake is glorious. So then we jump from there all the way into California, and we're going to go down to Alabama Hills. Now, I've only captured a Milky Way off of Mobius Arch, and I've only done it during a workshop, which means we drive in here, we walk this path up into Mobius Arch. And Mobius Arch is not right there, but right here, and you see it. There it is, and you see it kind of from this flat area up on the rocks more, whatever you like and prefer to get that Milky Way silhouette against Mobius Arch. This is another one of those images that doesn't get really feature it well, but it is one of my pre-pano, not final edits that's going to show you what you end up dealing with. What ended up happening in this shot is that we got up on the rock right here and shot this way. Kind of through it directly. We had already gone to Bristlecone Pine because we had a skunk night the night before, and we went to Bristlecone Pine still, and then captured that, and then came back to Alabama Hills to sleep, or Lone Pine to sleep, and hit Alabama Hills Mobius Arch real quick before bed, and got that Milky Way that had started to set and tilt over here with, Jupiter and Saturn showing up in that shot. And, oh, you know what? Aaron not seeing the screen. I hate the 30-second delay. It's unfortunate because I can't show you what you saw. All right, well, we didn't see Crater Lake. This was the only picture at Crater Lake. I believe you saw this before because I was showing you the graphic. That's right, I showed you that little card. So this was the not great but okay shot. And Teresa's chiming in now too. I'm sorry about that. I can't believe how much the delay affects me sometimes, because I was going fast enough actually where you missed a little bit. So this Mobius Arch, this was the trailhead I was talking about. So we park right here, walk over, go up into this. This isn't Alabama Hills Mobius Arch right there. It's around this spot. And then here's what I was talking about, the flat area, the rocks that go up. You stand on any one of these spots right here, capturing Mobius Arch, which is this rock right there. It's got to be that one. This one and that one is what it is. And you walk up behind it and then go and stand on this rock looking this way at it to see my picture here, where it's just a frame from a time lapse that I took while the group was capturing their shots. I just put my camera really low and captured something so I had anything to show Mobius Arch right here. And Mobius Arch is something that has a neat silhouette, a neat shape, but when you got the Milky Way going vertical and going past it, you end up having to either put it kind of more on the right, but I believe the favorite is where you've got your kind of bagel shape and your Milky Way is coming off this way, more south than southwest, and that's where the money is. But this area, it's interesting to light it. You can put a lot of light back here that's too much, but you want to underlight it to bring up the silhouette, and then you want to light it from the front some, but not totally blow it out. And I kind of found myself finding out that I am a sucker for single source low level lighting. And this is what I learned here, is that I enjoy when there's just one source of light. It's artificial anyway, but if I have one source of light that either draws the arch underside and gives it its silhouette against the black, kind of builds it up and gives some color to it, I'm happy. If I have one source of light over here that's going across the face of rock and giving it character, I'm happy. The whole 3-point lighting plan of having a fill light, a rim light, and a spotlight almost that's on there, yeah, I'm not totally stoked about that. And I don't usually put too much effort into doing so unless everyone's up for it. That one light really can make this sing, and I kind of like the minimalistic light show of it. And so I appreciated and found here at Mobius Arch that that's what I like. That's what I like to do. All right, so from Alabama Hills, we go up north where I told you we went that night before we captured that picture, all the way up here to the Bristlecone Pines. Now, this is the ancient Methuselah Trail, and there's Ancient Grove. When you come in here and go to the visitor center, you have a pathway that you can walk and see a ton of them. I haven't even walked this pathway yet to see them, honestly. They're all throughout it. What I've always done is gone the really lazy man's road. You can see how there's this path that goes up this way, goes around, and then loops down. That's the long way to it. Don't go this way. Park in the very first parking spot. See where all these vehicles are parked? Or I guess that one vehicle is parked. You go up this side on this trail, and you just go straight to them. You come around this corner, and you're there. This is one tree. This is the second tree. There are two of them right here. Let's see what this picture actually looks like. There's the tree. And this is the tree right here where I jammed in a quick little shot, a time lapse where everyone else was capturing theirs. So I was really close to the tree. I had a compromised position as I'm prioritizing those in the workshop. And I just put my camera down, do a time lapse, and waited for the Milky Way frame to be right here and go. This spot, I learned a couple things from this tree. One, trees don't really benefit the same way from the low-level lighting as rocks. Like, rocks just really sing, but the twisting shape of a bristlecone pine and trees in general, they just don't have that same, man, it's looking much better because you've lit it up. It looks worse just silhouetted, but it just, I'm still currently not terribly satisfied with it. And the biggest challenge, which is still part of lesson 1, is that as you're working your tree, let's say this is my light source and here's the tree, and you're working your way around it with where you put the light, you're going to end up with spots that cast shadows where you don't want shadows, or you have branches that you've lost to silhouette and don't have any detail on that you really, really wish you had back. And so it is compromise, and ultra frustrating with people who are there that all have kind of different opinions, or they're too silent on their opinion. You're like, come on, please tell me, was this better or worse than the last one? Oh, please tell me, as you're walking around up on the trail trying to find a good spot to light it. And so I think we ended up taking off my orange gel and just keeping it the regular white light of the FNV that doesn't have a color cast. Now, my FNV Z96 is broken. I don't have the high CRI LED bulb lights to use anymore. It's sitting back there as a display. I am going to cast color with these other lights that I'm using and the newer lights, and so it's going to possibly not work as well. And I haven't quite mastered my favorite way of lighting the bristlecone pine, and especially in workshops, it's 17 different opinions, and you're like, okay, we got to get one that works best for everyone. But it's all right. The second thing, I've already known this about subjects in your foreground where if you minimize them too much, they don't seem like they're part of the story. They don't seem like they're part of your composition. They're just also in there. And so I filled my frame with this because I had to be forced to be in the front so that everyone else have the better view, and because I really wanted it to be the story. But then it left me with this core that's like, oh man, all the frames leading up before it was a challenge. It's like, oh, do I like that one more or this one more? I don't know. So I went ahead and had that time lapse. I took down the frames and I stacked it. I stacked this final image, and you can see how I have some crazy artifact. Have you seen them yet? Have you seen the problems yet? You won't not see it after I show this. So every branch has a nice smudge around it, as it just couldn't quite keep the stars next to the branch. And I simultaneously want to do a Star Trek shot here, and I don't want to do a Star Tracker shot here. Yeah, I mean, this is not the worst since there's no leaves. It's easier to manage. There's far more gaps in space to work with. But you can see that I just flat out lost all stars in between here. We had some clouds, and I'm thinking that may have been the problem here, because you can see how this is kind of minimized a bit, almost like there was just a little cloud there. You can see the cloud down below. We had some clouds, but also it didn't find it when I did the stack, and I froze the frame. I did the mask. I mean, I'd have to go in and detail work, clean all of these out, and I would for a star tracker shot, not this compromised image. So when I go back, Laurenciu says, I'm familiar with the smudge. He has the smudge on his too. Oh gosh, yeah. This can be obnoxious. And taking trees into your picture is just insane. Mary Beth, I freaking worship how she is. I would say she's crazy patient, but I've heard her not be patient. But she is brilliant how she handles them, and she gets through it, and it makes her images with the star tracker still turn out still turn out amazing. They are brilliant, even though there's trees in there that she's often cleaning up. So it takes a lot of work. So I do want to do a star tracker shot and make a portfolio-worthy image of this. I want to perfect my lighting. I want to get the greater, cleaner sky. But since I am featuring this much of the core, I want a different lens that's really going to bring everything in and feature it strong, with the Lagoon Nebula really bright red, an Astro modified from Spencer's cameras. Camera would be probably best, and I'm looking forward to doing that. And it's not going to happen this year, but it will happen next year. I guarantee it. You're going to like the way you look. That is the only bristlecone pine. All right, cool. So from Bristlecone Pines, we go to Mono Lake, which is close. You go from there, drive past Bishop, and then enter in to Lee Vining area where Mono Lake is. And Mono Lake is the South Tufas. That is pretty much what you're going to want to go to. You go down the big pathway right here. I guess people have started making their own path through this spot to go directly to the Tufas, but the walk is so slow. I just go the full path and then walk over. I didn't mean slow. The walk is so short that it isn't that slow that you need to cut any corners. Just go down the path that they've created and just enjoy those calcified awesome rock structures that come out. And when I was there last, I was assigned by Alan Wallace to not capture the core, so the images I will share with you right now are just some features of the Cygnus constellation there over some tufas, and I did have to clean up the image around my rocks and blend the frames, but I don't have a smudge. I have stars. And with this Alan Wallace's Star Glow filter, I believe he called it, something like that, it made these stars pop with a little bit of a glisten and a nice little color that shows up from the true star color. You got the oranges and the whites and blues. Do I have any reds showing up? I don't think my camera was showing them very well, but this one's more orange, and then they get blurred out towards the end of my frame on this wide angle lens, and it's just being stretched out to the far extreme on that 15 to 30 Tamron that you're watching me through right now. But this is one of the frames right there, and Chris Whiting says, I'll use a stack of 5 images to use for the stars around branches, and then I'm going to use the tracked sky for the rest. Okay, interesting. So he captures this tracked sky, right? Then he captures his foreground, but then he also is going to do a star exposure settings for the sky right there at the tree and take at least 5 images, or stack of 5 images that he'll use for the stars around those branches. So that's interesting. So he'll make what is now a tracked sky look really sharp and not have like a single image of stars showing up. He does a stack to make them as clean as possible so they blend in well with the star tracked sky. That's a cool idea. I like it, Chris. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show it right here, nice and big, so everyone can see that tip and follow it. If you want to hit pause, check that out, but we'll be right back here to the screen. All right, cool. So this is Cygnus, and the reason why I chose Cygnus is because of this star right here, which is Alberio. Alberio is my favorite star in the night sky. It has a blue and a yellow star, double star, and I just love that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Remember, if you want to jump in a workshop, come sign up, $1,000 only. Alberio. Love this star. It's a double star. Oh, I need to say star so that doesn't just show the company. Cool. So this is the double star that is Alberio. I'm going to go big on this one, and are we going to get there? Alberio, la la la, there we go, nice and big. So this is what the star is. We see that yellow one mostly, but we're really seeing the double star of both with higher magnitude than the stars around them, and it's one's blue behind it and one's yellow up front, and it's gorgeous. I'm a sucker for blue and yellow. My two favorite colors are blue and yellow, so Alberio is my star. All right, from Mono Lake, we go to number 20. I have 26 locations, so I'm really close, and it's only 7:45. So we're doing it. We're doing it, everybody. Bistai Badlands. Oh, yes. If you go to the trailhead right here and hike all the way into the Cracked Eggs, you're only going to really want to do that once. Two reasons. One, because it's a long hike and you go there during the season that's early and you're waiting for a 2 to 3 a.m. for the Milky Way to be in position, and so you're going to be working hard to get that capture, and the Cracked Eggs are only so interesting. Oh yeah, I didn't have it marked at the Cracked Eggs. The Cracked Eggs are up here. Oh, I think I went too far. Oh, it sure looks like it's this area, but it's not. Zoom out a bit, Aaron. Yeah, it's there they are. They're right here. So when you come around all of this, you come high up and around, and you walk down the wash, and then you enter in to this spot, which is the Cracked Eggs. It's this small little field of them, and you can start to see the pictures popping up that show all the Cracked Eggs. And Brian Moore, thanks for letting me borrow your image that you don't know about, but it's on Google Earth, so I guess you expect people to look at it. This is what the Cracked Eggs is. These are the features that you can expect at the Cracked Eggs, and they have a lot of character. Local blend it, Chris Woodruff says. Shut it. So we've got an example here where it starts off as a time lapse, and I'm showing you the time lapse with my foreground and sky all one frame. This is the full time lapse of the Cracked Eggs. Well, I'm going to show you how you've got a foreground that is kind of low exposure if you do it just for the sky, and so you try and capture your own shot at a different setting to really bring them out. And in a time lapse situation, I don't recommend it, but when it comes to your final image, it's beneficial. And you can even see the benefit already in the time lapse side by side, where now you can see, oh, okay, you can see a little bit more noise and crap going on here, and this is much cleaner. But if you look closer, like in this next frame, you can see how this is not in focus. So if I recommend, let's just say this is what I learned. I learned in this area at Bistai, when I do a focus stack for my foreground, I need to not just focus stack here, 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 and here. I was out at f2.8. I didn't change my focal length. I just kept it at f2.8 and captured. And so we're looking at what is a shallow depth of field, and it still leaves me with a midground and a distant background that's all out of focus. So my focus stack needs to stretch beyond just that rock in front of me and then continue back. This was during a workshop, and so I'm not going to take my pictures. I set up a time lapse, and then before we left, I did a quick long exposure. I didn't change my rock. I used the rock that was left for me after the group decided what they loved the most. And so this area right here, I didn't get a chance to do my complete focus stack, and that would have made this stronger instead of having this be blurry. It's really quite obvious in person. Through the video, it's not as obvious. It looks kind of okay, but it's not okay. So you can see in this next frame that this is my foreground capture at a different setting, and then my sky is just completely blown out, and I also removed it with a mask. And so this is the mask itself. All right, cool. Let's go to the next location. When you're out here in Bistai, let me mention it. Cracked Eggs, yep, hike out there once and then come all the way back. It's a 2 mile there and 2 mile back. But then you can go from this trailhead and just zip straight to this canyon that we called Milky Way Canyon, and it has a ton of cool rocks, a lot of interesting features to work with and make a panorama with even, and it was a lot of fun, and it's only 0.3 miles, so you walk here straight to there, and you're there. There's none of that 2-mile hike all the way in. So when you look at this again, here to there, or you go all the way in to here. And that's a lot more hiking. And if you just want to keep it easy, that's where you want to go. This area right there. And if you want to mix it up, you can go and park in the next parking spot up here. You can recognize the rocks creating that rectangle and a little shade. Actually, looks like a shadow only, but I don't see the vehicle itself. But that is a vehicle right there. It must just be all black. And you walk from here and you wander into this green area. And you pass by a ton of cool little rocks. Some that are only ankle biters. Some that are as high as your waist. Some that are as tall as you. And then some. And so there are some cool options. When you want to get to the taller ones, you walk all the way through this until you see the bigger shadows. Once you see the bigger shadows right here, those are the tall rocks that you can get a cool panorama over and light paint, low level light it, and have some cool shots. So this is a cool area. That's another like 0.4 mile, 0.3 mile hike in. So from the parking spot there, actually no, the parking spot right here, you go over there, or you go from there and go down to that. So when I loved Bonsai, I thought I'd be okay without anything else, but Alien Throne seemed like a cool thing to try, and now it's a must-see. It's an absolute must-see. It's an extra hike, not terrible. It's like 1.5 miles in and 1.5 miles out. It's something not so bad. And then this spot in the area, once you get here, you're just like, whoa, this is an intense landscape. The terrain there is just, it's mind-boggling. You're like, I'm in a different planet. And when you're going and you're working your way through, you can walk all the way around this, or you can cut in like we did. And none of us sprained our ankle, but there were plenty of opportunities to sprain our ankle. That's for sure. And Alien Throne, it is a gorgeous subject with no space at all. And it's frustrating because that no space at all really kind of bugs me. Like, So we worked a whole group of 8 people and took turns going in and out, and the Milky Way is constantly rising. By the time the last person gets in there, he had a compromised version of it. I think it was Steve that was last because he had a good nature about it. And Steve went last and enjoyed what he could. We just got him tighter to the rock to bring the Milky Way closer, gave him a little bit of extra time to do anything he wanted. And the Alien Throne in the Ashi Slapa area is awesome. But it's tight. Now, this is not where I learned this, but it's a good chance to show you it. And I learned how to deal with my low-level lighting when I've got other rocks. Remember what was happening with the tree and how as you rotate around the tree, you were compromising with what shadows you cast? Well, this right here, you can see that I'm dealing with the same thing. In fact, let me pause this play and just scrub it. It starts out with the light right here. And I mentioned this in a previous Milky Way Wednesday, so deal with me if you've heard it before. Right here, this really bright rock is not what we're featuring. It's just going to be with this rock and how it bounced off and how it gave some character, so we liked that. If I turned the light around and went directly at it, it was too much. So I learned a long time ago that bouncing the light off of another rock will cast the color of that rock onto the light or onto the subject, as well as help minimize the brightness of that light, because that's even the lowest setting. Actually, I doubt that. I bet I turned it up a little bit just to make sure that it was bouncing enough. But we decided that we didn't like how that was going to be under where the Milky Way was going to be, because look at this. What's that? The Rho Ophiuchi. Here's the Milky Way core, Rho Ophiuchi. So in 1 hour, we knew the core would be right there, and this would all be in people's shots. And so it's like, okay, we can't leave the light there. Let's move it way back over here. Well, now we've got a whole different set of shadows being cast, but it's kind of neat. I kind of like in some ways what's going on, but there's this giant shadowy area here that makes all of this light look kind of like a car in a parking lot that's just kind of whizzed through there. And that's the only time I really want to fill light is when I cast too many shadows at the base of the rocks. So we tried to find a compromise. And kissing it against that rock found that compromise. We got some light down below the alien throne, a lot more context for what the structure is that brings up the alien throne, as well as some good interior lighting on this portion of alien throne, where now only this shadow side right there had the character that we needed to give character. We had a complete image, and we were ready to work with the Milky Way that would go all the way here, and these rocks would look fine, and only this section of rock would be too bright. So, Alien Throne is an awesome, definite do location. It's the road there had nothing challenging. If you have a vehicle that's a car, you will find it difficult between here and there, depending on your car. You end up going on trenches, and you can drive on top of them, but if it's not too wide or you get stuck in the trench or get your tire in there, it may be something that could get stuck, but it really is just kind of a sagebrush, area. It's not like it's full of anything too requiring of four-wheel drive or too sandy. The rest of the road, all the way back, all the way here, all of that was just a gravel road or a flat, plain dirt road. It was nice and smooth. It was planed, and so it was gorgeous to drive on. And this part of the road with all the rocks was more annoying than this section right here that was just all dirt road. So it's actually a terrific drive. Nothing to worry about. As long as it's not raining, you're going to enjoy going and parking in this parking area that everyone's at, and then walking from here going in. And you'll pass reject rocks that are cool. You're like, those are kind of neat. Then you've got the three brothers or the three missionaries or something. I can't remember what they are right there that are neat that you can capture on your way back after you do Alien Throne, and that whole area is just full of awesomeness. All right, Island in the Sky. This one I've talked about many times, so I'm just going to go quick with it. It's the cliff edge off of Canyonlands where you can stand right here on the cliff edge and look over and do a dual exposure panorama that really turns out, as you've seen many, many times. Love it. What I learned here is that a chasm that has a good reflective rock right close to you, and then everything else has a different color, a darker color, it'll work much better for a dual exposure, where a 1 minute exposure on this rock really comes out and sings, where this one down here, as it has lower exposure on it, but it looks intentional because of the rock color change, it turned out brilliant, and you can hardly even really tell that there's a problem with the long exposure versus the sky. It all looks like it's one picture, and it turned out brilliantly. Absolutely love it. That same method at Crater Lake, not so well. All right, Factory Butte. This is one where I do not have a picture for it. I have been taking people out to Factory Butte, and I never take my own picture. And I just haven't done it myself because I love Goblin Valley so much, so when I'm here, I just don't do it. And I need a specific lens, and I'm going to be capturing one with a nice star tracker, and I haven't done it yet. But this isn't Factory Butte, but is very nearby. And this is Royce Bear Milky Way Butte. And I'm actually going to finally have a chance to take a workshop to this location in March when we do the 7-night workshop there. So if you join me on this workshop, the 7 nights Southern Utah one, that one has 8 slots available still. And this one right here is pretty cool. And we'll have 7 different locations, and this is one of them, the Royce Bear Milky Way Butte. Okay, cool. Let's go to the Salt Flats. Salt Flats is a place that I have taken people for workshops and get skunked because we just don't get the water we want. This was such a gorgeous location. It's so flat, and then with the water that was there, it made an amazing image. This one with Brendan and I back in 2018, I love it. It's my second favorite image of all time, and it is the favorite night of Milky Way photography of my entire life. Seeing the Milky Way reflect in the water below your feet was just magical. And so this is a time lapse where I'm out there with Jim, and Jim and I are capturing it over what puddle we could find. And we got him right up into the water so that we can capture that Milky Way going off of it. And the one thing I learned here is that when you're dealing with a subject that's so flat and you have nothing else, you really need a reflection or a texture. And that's quite obvious, but what is a nice, neat location can be bogus without it. And it just isn't as strong unless you have that. And I just learned to play with water reflections here, look around the weather of what's happened recently, and also going to a spot like this where water tends to stay last. This is where we ended up, right off of this dike, and that's where we found some water. Even though, hey, Jim's here. Jim is the man with me right there. So James Baker, hey man, welcome in tonight. And so this was a fun night out there. His son was with us too, but I think at this point he'd had it. And so he wasn't featured at all in the time lapse. And so that is Salt Flats, Hoodoo Village. It's an area just in, out, /in, /out. I really don't know exactly, and I'm not going to try and find out right now because I love going there. And it's Zion National Park area that has a really cool rock. This pancake rock right there. And there's this whole terrain in this area if you're up for hiking around it. It's just a small area. It's not too hard to do, but it's just gorgeous and has created some great imagery. And I love this image right here. This is a crop in, so it focuses on the vertical best part of the frame where I have John and this woman who was already there on location. I've never seen anyone there also, but because Neowise, the comet, was out, she came out to that location, and I've never seen anyone else there since. And so this is one of my favorite spots that's like just close to Zion. So if you're going to go to Zion but don't want to go through the park and don't have the entrance fee, this is one of the beautiful rocks that's kind of the reject rock area that's not part of the park, that is close to the park, and it is just cool. I just love it. Hurricane has some light pollution there that you want to catch the Milky Way before it goes on top of it, but otherwise it's fantastic. Do I have another picture of that area? I do not. All right, cool. Last two. This is an area that I did take a workshop that I almost forgot even happened, and it's just outside of Valley of Fire. If you go, if I zoom out, you'll see Valley of Fire in Nevada up here, the heavy red area up there. That's Valley of Fire. And just below that, on the highway that heads back into Las Vegas, there is this petrified dune area, red petrified dune, and this place is really cool. I think that the best part of it doesn't even have a Milky Way, and that says something. There's all sorts of rocks to play with. I don't even know which one my favorite is. We kind of liked this for a pano, but it's just dune, panel overhead, and it's neat. It's okay. But the coolest element was this baby elephant rock. So as you look in this area, in this picture right there, you can see what to expect. This is the stuff that makes up this area, these petrified dunes, and it's an area that's out of light pollution and really close to Las Vegas. Well, in this picture, you can see the baby elephant rock. It's right there. Right there. You can kind of see that it is like a baby elephant. And you look at this picture we captured with our group, and we low level lit underneath it to draw out the silhouette. You can really see that baby elephant catch on fire above our heads. We had a big giant group. It was the Create Photography Retreat. We were out there at the convention or the conference, and it was a blast to take a big group to an area that would still work and be interesting, and this one was it. In fact, I believe this is where Dave and I met. Dave, another Dave, not Amaki, but fantastic spot. Really cool underbelly light up and baby elephant rock. There's no Milky Way above it, but it's still pretty fantastic. All right, let's end this. We're going to end this in a place that you don't expect me talking about it, but there was one major thing about the Milky Way that I learned when I was here in the Faroe Islands up at Clacker. And Clacker is a hike that's right by Klaksvik, and just gorgeous area. Easy enough hike that I did it twice that night without, highly dying, but not something that you want to do twice. It's just a nice uphill that is a huff and puff. Ask Kathy, she loved it. And this is what we captured that night. Aurora. Even with a full moon, Aurora was visible, and then the Milky Way right over here on the left. And the thing that I really loved about this moment was that, okay, we're so high in latitude that I can't see the Milky Way. Where is it going to be? Where is it going to end up for me? And I ended up learning that the summer triangle is brilliant for pointing out where it is.
Without going into any example right now, just know, oh, you know what? I could easily do that from my channel and, use this as a chance to push saying, hey, everybody, come join me over on the channel if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit the button. Everyone who comes to the live streams typically have, but might as well just mention it. As I look at my other videos, I'll go back to where I talk about the... Where is it? There it is, the asterism that will always guide you to the Milky Way. And we might as well start off with the time lapse that is this terrain. Let's go full screen. Even get rid of me. And the chat. So you can see how neat and strong that inversion was, and then the aurora comes in crazy strong and goes over this terrain, and as we're watching the aurora, the moon starts to rise. And while I was hanging out there, I was looking up and saw the Milky Way band overhead, and I wondered, okay, before that Milky Way band was visible, stars were visible, and I could make out the summer triangle. That's an asterism, and I wondered, based off of that triangle shape, where is the core? You can see how the moon really came up because you can see all of the clouds now and very visible underneath the aurora. So that was the time lapse. But then Bearded Aaron's going to tell you that there is this asterism in the sky, and that asterism guides you on the Milky Way. And we'll pause this frame. So you can see how here's Vega, Deneb, and Altair. And between Deneb and Altair is where the core is going to be. It's going to ride Deneb. Deneb is inside it, while Altair is the bottom of it. So you can see, okay, here's that triangle shape of the summer triangle. And you're going to go and say, okay, Vega's the top one, the highest one in the sky above me on the northern hemisphere. And you'll see Deneb and Altair. Altair's the bottom, Vega's at the top, so Deneb is inside the core, and you can basically just kind of run your arm and go, oh, okay, there we go. That's what you got to do. Just go like this. Deneb's right there, continue right above Altair, and that is where the core is. And you can find the core in a location where you don't see it yet, or you can't see the row of Fuki to find it. And you're like, okay, it's going to get dark soon, and I can see now that Vega is up there, summer triangle, boom, that's where the Milky Way is. And so at any latitude line up high north, you can find where that core is going to be on the horizon as you follow that. So that's what I learned from my Milky Way out in the Faroe Islands. All right, cool, sweet. We did it. I mean, the best part is that I'm only 6 minutes late. It's so terrific. Woohoo! 6 minutes late for the Milky Way Wednesday is unheard of. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me. I just want to remind you again that for you in the YouTube audience, I am going to hook you up with this deal still. There's some of you who probably have already signed up, and you're like, Aaron, I can't do another one. Okay, I get it. No worries. I'm going to talk about this next week as well and remind people that, all right, I was planning on selling 20 of them, and so if anyone else wants to take advantage of this deal, you have your chance to come with me to any of my 2023 workshops. Here's what they are in quick format. Just thanks, everybody. I never saw any big questions come through tonight. I didn't see anything other than, hey, you're not showing us anything. So thanks so much for hanging out. Milky Way Wednesday will be back next Wednesday, but that'll be the last one as I'm gone the following week for a workshop, and then I'll be back. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. As always, I'm Aaron King with Photog Adventures, and we'll be back for Milky Way Wednesday next Wednesday here on my YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. All right, take it easy. See you, Dave. See you, Thomas. See you, Chris. See you, James. See you, Chris. And I guess I could go back the whole chat list. I'll just say goodbye one-on-one. See you later. Have a good one. Later, everybody.